We're going to jump into the narrative first a little bit to frame this question and then see how it translates. Build that list, that Tactica checklist over on the tabletop side, the hex map side. So there's this idea of light mechs, scout mechs in Battletech. If we look at the various bug mechs, the Locust, the Wasp, the Stinger, their role in the narrative as a mech is to skirmish, is to recon, definitely not to get into a head-to-head, toe-to-toe fight against anything really. And because while they are battle mechs and they are very, very powerful and potent, they're still very, very vulnerable just based on the tonnage. They don't have a ton of armor. They don't have a lot of armor. So we see this idea in the narrative versus a Scout Wind recon car or some of the lower battle value hover units, vehicles. Certainly they make great, great recon units, and they exist, and they work for that. But this idea of a mech is that they can move and be a lot more agile and navigate terrain much more effectively. And if we're also attaching something to a lance, now in Battletech, of course, that lance, those 4 mechs, and there's different configurations of those mechs. Those 4 mechs represent the fighting element, that fighting element of a mech force. So having a recon unit that's a mech that can keep up with the other mechs, that can support the other mechs, that's also one of the reasons why you would have a mech scouting over, say, a vehicle. But that's also not to say you can't attach a vehicle or two to a lance, combined arms. But that's where it fits in that narrative. And look, a mech warrior is a mech warrior. I'd rather be in the tank personally if I had to pick versus a tank versus a light mech, but that's just my own personal preference of loving tanks. But if I found myself in that universe, certainly a mech warrior, even a Stinger or a Wasp or the other various light mechs, socially speaking, that is a vast step up than even the heaviest tank or various tank crews. So it is a matter of prestige also, where you would attach this machine to a lance. Now we jump over to the hex map side. So Fritz, that sounds great. I understand it, but I'm on this hex map. I've got 4 mechs, target confirmed. We're moving towards each other, and I've got my light mech. How do I utilize this aggressively, right? I'm in that fight. I've got to engage other elements of a lance. So here are a couple of options. Tactically speaking, if I take my light mech and I go after that other light mech, now hopefully it's within the same weight class. If I go after that other light mech, I don't have to necessarily destroy it. And of course, even going against a light mech with less armor, am I capable of destroying it? If you've got a Wasp and I'm running after you with my Locust, all I really have is the medium laser. I don't really want to utilize those machine guns simply because I want to try and keep some distance and I want to be moving. I want to keep the modifiers up, right? We talked about some light mech Tactica. Tactica 101 is just don't get hit. Not that we ever want to get hit. Don't get hit. And the way that we don't get hit in Battletech is keeping effective range, trying to navigate that range where I'm at maybe medium range for my shots, but you're at medium or long for yours. Occasionally I'll have to close, but also try to move the maximum number of hexes possible to throw up those modifiers. That's just basic primary. Secondary to that, can I get some cover in some woods? Can I get some light cover or some cover that blocks a part of my mech? How do we kind of navigate that? Can I get some elevation going? I'm exploring things from that level. So if I have to chase my light mech versus your light mech, you're going to be moving too. Am I really going to destroy you? I might get a hit or two. We might do some damage, but I'm keeping you away. I'm pushing you away. I really don't want, if I'm a lance, any light mech behind my mediums or my heavies or my assaults, really. Any mech for that matter. Especially, look, we could be looking at something like a Jenner. A Jenner is a brutal light mech. A Jenner gets behind, say, my Hunchback or my Griffin or even my Warhammer. They push the heat. They've got some bite. So I can use my light mech to push that other mech away to keep that light mech busy. Now, look, I could do the same with my Warhammer. I'm just kind of randomly picking some of my favorite mechs and building this imaginary lance. Certainly, I could do that. But with the movement modifiers of that light mech, because you're going to be running around, getting cover, doing all that type of stuff, I'm wasting shots. Am I really going to hit you? So that plays into the second Tactica on the hex map. Run and gun. If I'm running around with my light mech and I've got range. So we've got this Warhammer, and we've got to give a heavy mech. Let's make it interesting, right? You're giving me the battle value. I'm playing my favorite machines. I'm going to play maybe a Marauder, or I'm going to play an Awesome. I've got 2 or 3, maybe 4 PPC shots coming at some sort of target in my lance. That's got bite, right? That's going to get your attention. And then I'm going to follow up and get your attention with my autocannon 20 on that Hunchback. I'm going to get danger close, point blank, AC 20, punch. I've got your attention. Firing those PPCs, I'd rather fire them at a heavier target, a slower target that I have a greater chance of hitting, and I can start to really soak through. I can really start to damage you to punch through to internals. That's my priority. Do I really want to waste shots shooting at a Locust or a Wasp running around? You've got modifiers, so you've got range. So I start out, maybe I need 4s or 5s. Then for distance, I'm up to like 6 and 8s. I run. I've got that movement. All of a sudden, I'm like 11s and 12s, 10s, 11s, and 12s to hit you. So from that perspective, just running around like a maniac. Now, tactically, if we're looking at that Wasp, I'm just not going to shoot you if you're running back and forth. I might. But you need to have a credible threat where, are you trying to work your way up the flank? Are you trying to get into a position where I'm like, look, I see what you're doing. I can't let you do that. And this could be mission. By the way, this could be mission objectives. Like I have to recon a certain area, or I want to dominate a certain point on the map. It could be either something like, look, there's some terrain that favors engagement. And if you get up there first and secure it, then you follow up the rest of your lance, you'll be able to effectively kind of push me away from that terrain. And now you have an advantage. So maybe I'm like, I got to take out that Locust. I got to take out that Stinger, that Wasp running up there, because I don't want them to get to the terrain feature to kind of dominate it first. I'd rather shoot those shots at my opponent's rifleman coming in, but I've got to take the shots on that. So kind of making a pest of yourself as that light mech. Now, let's also look at, as we move to end game or mid game, initiative is so important in Battletech. Like Mech Warrior 101, understanding initiative and its use. This is also so vital at the lance level. I mean, I put down a lance, you put down a lance, or we're doing 2 lances, kind of a nice sized game. When a mech goes down, you are at a tremendous disadvantage. I'm at an advantage because your mech went down, or we flip that. If you lose 2 or 3 machines, now initiative changes. You might have to move. I might have to move multiples. You might have to move multiples. There's nothing worse than being in that pivotal moment, and the way it plays out is you have to move your machine first. And you're sitting there and you're looking like, all right, I got to move this mech, but wherever I go, there's no good position. Then Fritz is going to take that Warhammer. He's going to get up close, and I'm going to be in a lot of trouble because I've just got nowhere to effectively block things off. He's going to get to my weak side, or he's going to get around rear, or he's going to get that terrain before I can, all because of initiative. So keeping up with those light mechs, a light mech is almost like always a free initiative point because you should be running, you should be gunning, you should not necessarily be engaging. Light mechs should, and there are times maybe you got to go all in and be aggressive. That's a different mission parameter. Light mechs should be up for most of the game. So you want to have that as an initiative anchor. So that's the translation over from the narrative to the actual hex map. Hey, we're confined to this hex map. Target acquired, 4 mechs going in, 4 to 4. I need to play aggressive. I need to be offensive with that light mech. How do we switch from that? How do we do that? How do we utilize that? Okay, next step. So that's the overall tactica. Then you're going to layer that over with your missions, of course. Now I'm going to point you to the Battletech playlist on my channel. I've got an influx of new subscribers. It's an awesome time to play Battletech. All of the sets are in the wild. They're being restocked. We've got tons and tons of hex maps. I mean, there's a lot of amazing Battletech stuff going on right now. You are building your collection. You're thinking about mechs. You're exploring mechs. Now, at the playlist, the Battletech playlist on my channel, you will find reviews for most of the Inner Sphere light mechs. And for clanners, we're starting to jump into that. Check those out, because that's going to show you now the alignment of the tactica of how to utilize these light mechs understanding the run and gun, understanding keeping distance, understanding the mission parameters. That's the layer over for the individual machines.